nightmare of reoccurring themes in a darkly different place where nothing's what it seems. The moon has...
All right, welcome to the Weird Show. This is Russell Dowden, the former publisher of Weird Magazine and host of Weird Radio, now doing later in the years, occasionally, the Weird Show. And we're bringing some of this gear back on and bringing some streams on, so we are streaming live to the old Weird Magazine YouTube channel. And joining me as we are gearing up for some of these shows that we're going to be doing, we're going to have some paranormal guests that I want to interview, and we're going to have those guys on eventually. But until then, I'm getting my friends and colleagues to come on and be guinea pigs with me here in the media studio. And joining me this week is a very old friend of mine, Anthony Acosta from McAllen, Texas, joining us. Anthony, how are you, my friend? Let me see. Hold on. I'm not getting your audio. Let me see. I got you on. You should be coming.
No, that's my fault.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. How are you? How are you, man?
Thank you. Good. Thank you for having me on. Man, it's really awesome to get in contact with you again after all this time. I remember, chasing UFOs back in the day.
Yeah, we were both. For folks that don't know, our history goes back. Maybe the late night, maybe '98. I want to say it was around the time that you and I hooked up, and we were. Flashlights in the dark, searching for answers out there, kind of. We were doing the old setlab.org site. Anthony, you launched that with Sonny Salas and I, and we had a lot of fun with that for a while there, and did a little appearance there. We pulled a Coast to Coast AM kind of fax thing, and they talked about us. We didn't actually get on the show, but we did, but we weren't on there actually. But yeah, a lot of fun horsing around with you and Sonny in the old days. That was a lot of fun, and really those were baby steps, I think, for me getting on the path to self-employment and media and a lot of the things that I would later end up doing. But I will say, trying to find a career in ufology is not the right path to go on. Not a lot of money in that,
No, well, there can be, but you have to know how to work it.
Well, I eventually, through my advertising sales skills, which is something I learned from my family, and eventually, with doing Weird Magazine, I did do 101 total issues of the paranormal magazines, and that was about a 10-year run doing that, and so that was proven. Yeah, that was a proven thing to be passionate about alternative media and paranormal and conspiracy stuff. That magazine, we ultimately sold Weird Magazine to Alex Jones, and Alex hired me to do InfoWars. And so I put the InfoWars magazines out for Alex in 2012. So
oh my God, that is amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know if you knew that. I haven't talked to you.
I did not know that.
No, yeah. We sold Weird turned into InfoWars in 2012, and then I helped them get that off. I hired the graphic designers over there. I got to host a couple of shows there at the InfoWars crew, and so I kind of got to hang out with the old Mr. Conspiracy himself for a few years there. That was a lot of fun.
The latest is that he is part of the CIA now.
Yeah. He looked at. I've never. That's a bunch of horse crap. But I one time I was in Austin prospecting on an ad for InfoWars magazine. The place was called the Spy Shop, and I went in, Anthony, and I picked up. I still have my coffee mug, but I had a CIA coffee mug. I bought two of them, and I brought one to Alex and left it to him in the studio there. I said, "Hey, I got you something. I want you to check this out here." And he was like, "What are you trying to say something? What are you trying to tell me here?" I don't know if he kept his CIA coffee mug, but I still have mine. But that was.
Spy Shop. I'm a big customer. I love all those gadgets. But anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, Alex Jones. I don't buy as a CIA guy, knowing how things are behind the scenes. In fact, I have a hard time with a lot of conspiracy theories, simply because of my work experience inside Univision, and inside Fox and the CW and all the other stations that we ran, knowing the chaos that it goes on in the back, behind the camera that nobody ever sees. It boggles my mind that someone can think that it's so organized that we can have a cohesive message, or that the conspiracy, they can have such a cohesive message that goes out without
without a hitch.
Yeah, and there's some big overlord saying this is what you're going to say. It doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's weird stuff out there. I'm not saying there isn't.
Well, you're right, and
there are conspiracies. Yeah.
Well, and there is truth to, I think, some of the media members being part of a higher echelon of media memberships. I mean, I wouldn't say that that's not true in some ways, but I don't know. You hear things like these guys all meet in a California northern red forest and all of this stuff, I wonder sometimes if there's any truth to that. But they do have these meetings where people get together and they are part of, Fox News, high echelon, and it's not always the hosts themselves, but it's the executives up at the top of the chain.
I have an old friend who I worked with. He's a very high profile gentleman, and he moved to Hollywood. And he's an agent for hip hop acts, artists, and stuff like that. But he runs around in those crowds with the actors and all of that. And I asked him point blank. We connected a couple months ago, and I'm like, hey, so I heard that you guys are eating babies over there. And I'm like, tell me, you're in there, you're in that crowd.
Well, you're not talking about Mighty Mike Quinn, are you?
Maybe. I didn't know if I should say his name or not.
Well, I know Mike. Mike says hi once in a while. Okay. Mike's been on some of these little streams with me.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Before actually.
I asked him point blank. I'm like, so you guys eating babies or what? and he started laughing. He's telling me, it's the same thing that people they see it from the outside, and so the unknown gives the mind creative license to really take off on these wild theories, because you just don't know. But if you're an insider, if you know the inside workings, then you understand that no, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of winging it. There's a lot of, for lack of a better word, making shit up, and there's no room for that kind of thing. People are just trying to get their paycheck and put together their months.
Go ahead. Go right ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm just saying that. Not saying that these theories are necessarily bunk, but it's a very difficult pill to swallow. When you understand the industry, it's kind of like people saying that well, they don't say this, but to put it into perspective, people that don't know how pizza is made. They figure out, oh my God, they're bleeding tomatoes in the back. They have them hung up, and it's a genocide of tomatoes to make that sauce. And if you're a person that works inside the pizza place, well, it's a can, and you open it and you pour it in. There's no magic. You understand the process. But for the person on the outside, there's magic, because they order the pizza and, oh my God, this beautiful pizza comes out. I'm oversimplifying. But you get it.
Well, be careful you don't go Pizzagate recipe pizza. Things can get really crazy,
No, I did not mean to
No, just thought I'd throw that in there. That's a Alex caveat maybe there. I don't know, but a lot of crazy things. That's what conspiracy theories go, man. You and I, when we first met, you were doing Kennedy Media Group, and I had this little thing called Interlink Development. And I think you still got Kennedy Media going after all these years, right? I mean, you never changed the name of what you were doing at home outside of your employment with Univision and the television networks. I mean, did you keep that going, or in some way a part of what your life? I see you still got, there it is. The branding looks modern as well.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I did keep Kennedy Media. It's as you know, named after my daughter, and um, it's been going strong, and we still have I have clients from back then, from the '90s, that are still clients today.
Wow.
And I handle their messaging and all of their PR, and it's they trust me, and I haven't let them down yet, so it all works.
Well,
Uh,
it's such a trip, man. I mean, we used to hang out and have coffee and cigarettes on 10th Street, and as young guys in our 20s, and all these years later, both of us though are still in media. It's I've been in publishing and radio. I have a radio show on 2 different stations in Austin now. This fall, it's just a trip, man. That we're still doing it.
Yeah, I can be honest with you though. This is just a placeholder until I figure out what I want to do when I grow up. So,
Yeah, the key is not growing up, right, Anthony?
Right. Getting what is it? Getting older is mandatory. Growing up is optional.
That's right. Well, tell me what you've been up to. What have you been up to? I mean, I've got your book right here that you have written. Now, I have not read all of it, Anthony. I've started it like about 4 other books that I've got lately here, but I've started them and then I haven't finished them. But I know you did this just out of probably a creative passion yourself, to which I know you a little, but enough to know that you this seems like a creative project that you really wanted to get going, or had some need or itch that you needed to scratch. So now I'm jealous of both you and Sonny, because now you both have written books and I haven't written a book yet. So tell me just a little bit what inspired the book here, and we'll bring that up on screen too.
Oh yeah, well, I was designing an ad for a I don't remember who, and the ad had a theme of an astronaut, and so I had the Photoshop open on my computer, and we're putting it together, and then out of where, but I was hit with this inspiration, this flash of light, and we're putting it together, and then
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And the entire story hit me, like the complete story. Now, I will tell you this: this book is part 1. There's 3. I split the book into 3 books.
Oh wow! Okay.
So this is part 1, but all 3 stories hit me in 1 second while watching the computer at work one day, and I had to immediately stop what I was doing and start writing. And so I wrote the entire story, the big grandiose story, first as a synopsis, and then I broke it down, and I was gonna let it go. I was like, no, this is dumb. I don't know what, but it wouldn't leave my head, and so I had to get it down on paper in order to move on. And it's a fun story. I don't know if and when you read it, you'll note each chapter builds on the last one, and it's all told from a first person perspective, and it's what they call first person limited, which really gets you inside the heads of the characters, and it's I don't know, it's a sci-fi adventure. It's fun. These guys are from the Valley, so I think this book will appeal to a lot of people from the Valley.
Look, Anthony, I made it to chapter 4, the dunes.
Oh, the dunes.
That's where I'm at in the book right now.
The fun is getting started. The first 3 chapters it sets up the scenarios, I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
And then the dunes is when it really launches into the rest of it.
Well, so you took the George Lucas path if you wrote the whole thing, and then have decided to break it down into 3 stories. But that must have been just serendipitous, right? I mean,
I didn't realize that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like what Lucas did in many ways. He just took one of the one of the chapters in the whole story that he had written, and of course made
wow.
the first film. So, well, that's cool. Now that I know there's 2 more parts coming, I've really got to finish this thing.
I'm finishing up the second one right now. I should have it ready to be hit the market hopefully by the end of September, and that will. I'm really hoping that I've taken some lessons from the wonderful and sometimes really harsh critics, uh, and so I'm putting in um, lessons learned from the reception that the first book got. So I'm hoping the second book will do a lot better. Not that the
Wow.
first one didn't do good. It's done really well. I just got back from Roswell. They've honored me. I don't have it.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook the other day, and I think it was you and I chatted sometime before your trip to Roswell, and that kind of really got our communication back on the track. And you were doing some work for Daryl, I
Daryl
guess,
Sims.
and so I was familiar with Daryl Sims' work, 25 years ago, but and you ended up in Roswell. Was that for the July event? I imagine then, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, Alien Fest. They had
Okay.
really the whole town came out. It was amazing. I met a rooster named Penguin. Uh, it
Is that
it
right?
was well, no, we're at the booth greeting people and having great conversations. Everybody there is fantastic to talk to. But we're talking to people that came out to the celebration, and this lady walks up and she's carrying a backpack that with a sphere, a clear sphere on the back of the backpack, and inside you could look inside, and the backpack had an air conditioner, and inside of it was a rooster that was just chilling. And I'm like, what is that? And she's like, oh, that's Penguin. And I'm like, excuse me. And fascinating. It was an example of the unique people that are out there that I think are incredible. Um,
Yes, I
but anyway,
imagine.
yeah, the festival was awesome, and got to
Did
know a
you
lot of people.
did you
Go ahead.
speak, or was Daryl there speaking, or what
Um,
capacity were you there as a fan, or were you there, in some of those roles? I used to, sometimes I would talk at some of those things
mhm.
once in a
um,
while in the old days, but were
yeah,
you
no, I
there? They
wasn't.
gave
I
you
wasn't
some kind of
speaking.
award though. What was the deal that they give you?
So the book has been it's in
Okay.
the library, and they're considering it. I don't have a decision yet, but they're considering it for the store.
Oh,
Since
okay.
since it's science fiction, and aliens play a very small part in the book, it's not necessarily up their alley, but they were very happy to have us there, and I was there helping Daryl. Daryl was giving some talks on alien abductions, uh, fluorescence, and detection. And while we were there, I met with
Yeah. How
Walters,
did?
Travis
Oh,
Walton.
Travis. Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
met Travis or interviewed Travis. I've interviewed a lot of
Mhm.
people, but how did you hook up with Daryl?
He came down to the UFO festival here in Edinburgh,
Okay.
and we had a interesting connection. I've had some uh, experiences that he helped explore, and in that in figuring all that out, we became friends.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so I've been helping him with a lot of his web stuff.
Well, that is really cool. I remember his website when you were running our website. I remember, he was a guy that was, he was. I almost, I can't recall if we interviewed him or not on the old radio show, but he was definitely in the mix. And I was in my garage a few weeks ago. I found the Set Lab Rolodex,
Oh my
and his number and name is in there, and so I may have had Daryl Sims on there. He was under. Is the website still ufohunter.org or .com or something?
it's ufohunter.org,
Uh huh.
but we now moved it to thealienhunter.com.
Okay,
However,
nice.
the old URL still works, but we needed to upgrade his stuff without interrupting the current flow. So we had to republish everything with the new skin, but keep the same URLs, and we had to revamp the graphics. We added an e-commerce store. We've added quite a few workflow changes to make it easier to publish UFO news and to get on the alien abduction support group, which, by the way, I might add is you know me, I'm kind of a skeptic. Like
You always been the skeptic. This is why I'm so curious how you're doing with Daryl, because you are always like throwing red flags up or whatever. Sonny and I, would drum up, but you've always been that guy.
Yeah, no, well, here's the thing, and the thing is, everybody knows the poster. I want to believe, the Cosmo, right? And I gotta say that's really my motto. I want to, but I need to know that it's real, and so as a result, I'm kind of like Houdini. He set out to debunk psychics, not because he didn't believe in psychics, but because he wanted to believe in psychics. He wanted to talk to his mother. He wanted to, make contact with the other side. And it was pissing him off that all of these fakes were out there, and so he went out on a mission to get rid of them so he could get to the real truth. And so that's kind of how I feel about a lot of this alien and UFO stuff. I want it to be true. I want to believe it, but I got to make sure that everything else has been explained away, or I need the bunk to be debunked.
Well, it's interesting because that's exactly how J. Allen Hynek, who was hired by the Air Force to disprove or debunk away a lot of the UFO sightings for Project Blue Book. And obviously, we've seen the recent shows here as how Hynek is portrayed in the Project Blue Book shows on History Channel. But that is true that he started off debunking, and I don't know I don't think that Hynek was probably debunking, Anthony. He was just genuinely skeptic of everything, and then through his investigations, he came out on the other side of that thing, and definitely and ultimately gave us the four classification system that we have that any researcher uses regarding the third kind, first kind, second kind, all the way through the fourth kind. And J. Allen Hynek, the professor, gave us that system, and so maybe you'll end up there where he was on the other side of this thing.
Yeah, no, I have fun with it. I enjoy the topic, but when people present evidence, my critical hat turns on, and immediately I'm like, is it a Mylar balloon? Is it this? Is it that? It's very easy to come up with pedestrian explanations for things that seem fantastic from that one perspective, and so that puts me. A lot of times people don't like me because I'll go and I'm trying to be very delicate about punching holes in people's theories and what they have, but unfortunately it still comes down like a sledgehammer.
Yeah, and I'm always and I've always been the acid tripping freakazoid. I mean, I like to believe some of these crazy. The crazier the thing is, I find it just incredible, and I don't know how amazing things, how real some of that stuff. I mean, I like to get into the crazy philosophies of and the more extreme, whether it was the belief systems and spiritual aspects to the Billy Meyer case. Like, I always found the Pleiadian connection with him is very interesting because of a lot of the theology and cosmic belief structure to a lot of it. So when you take late 18th, 19th century American spiritualism, and you get in with the Edgar Cayce, and you start mixing in some of these things with the real philosophical aspect of contact. I think that's just where I've always been, and I like to believe those things too. And I think my view on it all is very open. But when you interview all these crazy people, as I have over the years, you really get an interesting perspective of what everybody contributes to the culture of it all. And I think I've had a unique perspective of it, but not from the sense of a Mulder debunking or a Mulder. I've been Mulder, like you, searching for the belief of it all. But I think that my take on a lot of it, Anthony, it's always been a very religious, cosmic, spiritual journey in a lot of ways, I think. And maybe I took too much of that blotter stuff when I was 16 to 21 or whatever it was. But I think just some of that, I just like playing around with those ideas and concepts of spiritual aspect regarding, contact and all of that. What do you think about all of the stuff in the media as both of us media guys? In our career paths, what do you think of Elizondo and all of the recent report that came out in the end of June regarding, the vernacular? They're replacing UFOs, Anthony, with this new unmanned aerial phenomena. What is your thought on this whole new movement where they're showing the same 2004 black and white footage of a UFO traced by U.S. Navy pilots? Because I have some ideas on this, but I wanted to see what you think of the push that we're getting from, again, mainstream media on all of this, because it seems like with the advent of the Space Force, that this is something they're kind of pushing for. At least at some level, it seems like the media is pushing that and for the government. And so, what's your take with all of this? Every other news story, once in a while, we're seeing much more of that here in 2021.
Well, on the news side of it, I think it's them trying to get ratings. Bottom line, that that's the name of the game. You got to get eyeballs. You got to make it interesting. That's on the media side. You say UFO video, UAP video. And people are automatically tuning in to watch. So that's what I think on the media side. They're just attention horse, if that's the proper term. On the government side, I think they got egg on their face from Roswell. I think that they denied it so much, and they clamped down on all this UFO talk so much and so badly that in order for them to move forward, to bring us into the Space Force era, where we're definitely going to encounter UAPs, and we definitely need to identify them in order to defend our airspace. I think they needed to make this certain admissions public, but this is a path that they can take without embarrassing themselves, without having egg on their face. So by rebranding it from UFO to UAP, and by bringing somebody like Louis Elizondo out, I know it looks like he's an outsider, but he's an insider, and he ran the ATIP program, and I think this is just another phase of the ATIP program where it's managing the public perception, and a lot of respect for the man. I know that he's definitely an authority of what he's talking about, but I don't buy that he's a whistleblower. I don't buy that it's a sanctioned thing. I'm 100% sure it's sanctioned, it's planned.
Yes, it absolutely is.
This dissemination of information is simply a way for the government to get the information out there without embarrassing themselves.
Yeah, when I used to interview Jim Mars, the late Jim Mars was very, close to the Weird Show and Weird Magazine. Jim would be on very often on those old Weird shows and in the magazine. And Jim Mars, who had written The Alien Agenda, Rule by Secrecy, he was a New York Times best-selling author, but I used to talk to him, and we would talk about how the media would play on these stories, and very often what he would say was how the media or the government would push through the media, Anthony, what he called the metered release of information, and that it was a long, he felt like it was a long 20, 30, 40, 50 year program to slowly get this information out, and here we are now as I'm preparing with doing shows like this with you and maybe if my friend Heidi. I'm just going to get a couple of these under my belt before I have Dr. Michael Sala on, who does the exopolitics.org, and I'm reading his book, which is what is he called? The Space Force, Our Star Trek Future. And I'm really excited to have Dr. Sala on because I think he's got a really crazy out there take, but I don't think it's so crazy either sometimes. But the Space Force is, with that advent of it, I think one of the things that he's postulating is that there may be some kind of space event in order to garner more funding and interest in space as regards to space assets and the geopolitical arena with all the nations that are getting into space now. And so it's really interesting to see us have the militarization of space. Do you have any thoughts on space, our Star Trek Space Force new military branch?
Well, first, I'm not a fan of Star Trek. Ugh, don't kill me. Don't kill me. I appreciate the technology of the genre. I don't care for the social construction and structure of that world. I'd much rather prefer Star Wars. But that's a personal thing. That's just me.
But it's trip. It's a trip. I think if you look on I think this is the official logo for the United States Space Force, and this is Sala's new book. So, but what do you think that there's actually a Space Force now that's a part of our Department of Defense?
You're right. Now I will say this though: the Star Trek logo is actually taken from a U.S. government seal. People say, "Oh, the Space Force copied Star Trek." Well, no. Star Trek copied the government.
Yeah,
I don't remember what seal it was, but there was a government agency that had that. I don't know if it was NASA or
it was probably the precursor to NASA or around there. I mean, he wrote those. That show came out post NASA. I imagine NASA was born in '61 or '62, I think. So,
but the Star Trek, the arrow. That is actually taken from a U.S. government seal, turned into a sci-fi show, right? And now we have Space Force, which took that original government seal and has updated it and modernized it. And people are saying, "Oh my God, you stole it from Star Trek."
Yeah.
No, they didn't. Star Trek stole it from them. It's reversed.
Well, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the program itself? And is there, is there a push for, do you think we're going to have any announcement for contact or, where do you think their real motivation for Space Force is?
Well, I think honestly, it's the new NSA, in my opinion. I know that there's they're talking about space operations and whatnot, but to be honest, right now the biggest business in space is going to be monitoring terrestrial communications, which happen to go through satellites, which becomes the purview of the Space Force. So my thought is that Space Force is a very elaborate listening station. They're gonna be able to monitor and cut off and change and move communications all over the planet because they're out there, and that's where I think their strength lies, is in their ability to control the internet and communications channels and things like that. And I think people don't give it much. They just kind of dismiss it like, oh, no. NSA is the big, or not, is NSA the big brother, which is the one that captures all the messages and whatnot?
Well, the NSA or the NRO, even the NRO or the National Reconnaissance Office is also part of that, the intel gathering from space. But certainly there's a need for that as, other nations of the planet are getting into space. There's certainly an interest to defend space assets, and so.
I think there's a lot of things that we're not told the truth.
Yeah.
And there's the areas that come to mind in my mind is, you remember NASA? They launched a missile and they hit the moon to hear it vibrate.
Yeah, it rang like a bell. Yeah,
it rang like a bell, right?
Yeah.
But in the room where they were controlling that event, the guy had printed up pictures on his workstation, which clearly showed some kind of an artificial structure that they were hitting right in their target zone. Right? And so it makes me wonder, what is the reality? is the reality that we never went back to the moon, or is the reality that we never went back to the moon publicly? And if we did
True.
go back to the moon, what's going
Yeah.
on? What's the current state of affairs? Are we talking about competing mining operations? Are we talking about what are the nations involved? What is really happening behind the scenes? And
Yeah.
so that's where I think probably necessitated the Space Force coming to fruition.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's, again, I'm running off on my thoughts.
Well, no, I that's good. I mean, I think you're right about that, and I think that there is a secret space program. I think there is programs and technology that we're not told on the public side of things, and
Well, the TR-3B.
yeah, like isn't that like leaked now? Like that's been on government documents. The TR-3B nuclear powered flat platform. This is the triangle, one of the triangles that people were seeing in the 90s.
People don't remember, but in the first Gulf War, when the F-117 first showed up at the military bases, the forward military bases, they were freaking out. The soldiers on the ground had never seen an F-117, and they were like, "What is this thing? These are flying triangle thingies. What is that?" And they're like, "Oh, that's an old fighter. We've been using it for almost 20 years."
Yeah.
And so that one was the F-117 was they retired the SR-71 and
Yeah.
brought in this fighter class. The SR-71 was reconnaissance, but they brought in that, and they've had that forever, right?
Well, have you read or have you heard of the book Selected by Extraterrestrials by William Tompkins? He had recently passed away in 2018 or 19, but he was a Navy engineer and claims in his later books that he designed some of the U.S. Navy spacecraft in the early 60s and 50s, I believe.
Wow. That's impressive. I got to check that out.
Yeah, Selected by Extraterrestrials is his book, and he has another one that's coming out with the help of Dr. Sala, but another book by Lynn Kasten called Dark Fleet also espouses that this same U.S. program existed, as well as German programs that existed as well. So very interesting theories out there on the whole secret space program. I find a lot of that very fascinating because I do believe there is a secret space program, and it is funny because you would think, given everything that we know of American culture and society, or even that of China, if we had been to the moon in '69 and that July, well, we would have had McDonald's and Hilton's on that thing by 1980. No doubt, with American globalization and expansion. So it just stands to reason that we either didn't publicly go back to the moon, or we never went back. So it stands to reason there's likely some type of a clandestine program that's been going on.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that a lot of people say, "Oh, we never went to the moon," but I know that there's that experiment that still exists on the moon that the astronauts placed there, where you can aim a laser at a particular set of coordinates and you'll get a response from the moon, proving that this device is there. And it's at the landing site of one of the Apollo missions. But I think they featured it on The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, wow.
They were on the roof and and so I believe we went. So first, the people that say, no, we didn't go to the moon. No, we did go. Whether or not they filmed B-roll down here.
Right. Yeah, I think my theories on that have changed. I know Bart Sibrel did a documentary in the early 03, 04, 05. The funny thing happened on the way to the moon. I think that's an interesting film. I think he espouses that we never went to the moon, and maybe we did, like you're saying, and there was some B-roll footage to provide maybe they didn't have the technology to really film anything on the moon, and so what we saw was something somewhere done in a studio in Burbank, perhaps.
Or you could go the crazy route. Maybe they didn't know if there was going to be aliens greeting them, or some other unexpected creature, or maybe horrible deaths. You don't know. There's so many variables that are unknown. And so they needed to have something, a just in case, kind of situation. And so we don't know if they used it. We don't know if what we saw is really moon footage or not.
Yeah.
But but whether or not we went, I think we did. I still have a question though. I don't understand how we got past the Van Allen radiation belt.
Yeah.
They still haven't answered that. Does a piece of titanium shield you from that radiation?
Well,
I don't
perhaps.
know.
Well, the thing is, maybe perhaps there's some of that secret technology that is, that, like I said, that William Tompkins said that in his books his book that that technology existed prior to the birth of NASA, and so if those programs do exist, and if there's any truth to some of the things that he said, or even some of the things that Sala or Lynn Caston report has been reported, it just begs the question: is there must have been some other way to get there than the way we they say we went in July of '69. I believe now, isn't it true, Anthony, that there's more computing technical power in a little cell phone than there was that was on the trip to the moon? Is that true?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the shuttle used 256 kilobytes. The space shuttle, and that was from the 70s. The moon was before that, so that might have been 24K. I don't know. No,
Yeah.
it would have been 1024K. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, but the technology is old, and it's just amazing to see that if that's what we're supposed to believe that we got to the moon with. Maybe the guys went up there and hung around in the atmosphere and did that, and while another manned expedition went on other means. I don't know, but I find it all very interesting. My thoughts on the moon stuff has varied over the last 20 years. Certainly, it's with everything that comes out. Let's change gears.
Just so you know, the last thing on the moon. Book 2 of Sicarionauts is called Moonshine, and so it actually takes place on the moon, and it's a great adventure that actually addresses a lot of that stuff that we're just talking about. I know you didn't know this beforehand, but it very conveniently comes into the
that's a good plug for the book there, transitioning in there. I'm looking for, so the next book is called Moonshine.
Moonshine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Once you get to know the characters in the book,
okay,
our main character, you'll understand why it would be Moonshine.
Okay. It sounds like I'm gonna like these guys once I get past chapter 4 already.
Yeah, they're irreverent anti-heroes. They're great. I enjoyed writing them, and I'm continuing to write them. So
let me share.
I really hope everybody else enjoys them.
Let me share. Let's see. What else is going on with Mr. Acosta these days? I wanted to share my screen. You've got some other things that we're going to wrap here in about 15 minutes as we'll get to close on this show. But what else is going on in your life? I see there's different things that you've got going on here. You still got your business there. What else besides working with Daryl and hunting, alien hunting or whatever? But you've got some other things going on. Tell us what else is going on with you.
Well, I've got. I can answer that question business-wise or personal-wise.
Well, well, business-wise, I guess first. I just thought I'd allow you to plug some things that you've got cooking in your life professionally, and then if you want to elaborate a little more on what's going on with you. But I just thought I'd give you the opportunity to plug any business stuff that you've got going on.
Well, Kennedy Media, no. I do a lot of photography, and so I just upgraded my gear, and I've been enjoying, taking a lot of corporate portraits and a lot of like office commercial type photography. I've also got the drone. I got my 107 pilot's license, not 107. The pilot's license. I got the drone license and the pilot license, so I can do commercial drone photography, and I'm hoping to expand that to include LiDAR. Again, that's for me. It's not so much that there's a lot of demand for it, but it's because I like it. It's toys.
Mm-hmm.
And then on a personal side, I've been restoring my. I have an Infinity G35 that I picked up on a salvage title, and it was a wreck, and now it's in beautiful working condition. And I've been slowly upgrading it and turning it into my very own Tokyo Drift car, for fun.
Well,
Um,
well, that's
and
cool.
traveling. I have a Class A that Monaco, and so we go around going to sci-fi shows and car shows, and so the older I get, the more fun I have.
What's your next show? Where's your next travel plans to gonna end you up in? Where will you end up next?
Well, for Labor Day weekend, it's in September, and it's a dilemma. There's an NRA gun show in Houston, which is 23 acres of guns and gun accessories, which sounds, wonderful. Great place to max out my credit cards. But the thing is, at the same weekend, there's the Austin Roundup for hot rods happening, and
Okay.
so I'm like, do I go to Houston and get guns? Do I go to Austin and check out some hot rods? And so it's a dilemma, It's a tough life when you've got these.
Well, come up here to Austin, and then I'll go with you, and we'll check out the hot rods.
There you go. That actually sounds pretty good. But as far as I know, that's the only far trip that I have, like far future. Prior to that, I have routine stuff that takes me around the South Texas, out to Laredo and Brownsville, the island, but no major trips.
Well, cool. Well, I've been traveling a little more with all the hemp magazine stuff. I published this Texas Hemp Reporter magazine. We just had Tommy Chong on the cover of it, and I've been traveling a lot more with all of this cannabis and hemp and CBD side of things as a publisher that I've been involved in. So I've been to Dallas and Colorado and been doing some traveling, but that's good, man. That's good. And anything else you want to plug or shout out? We've got the book is coming out. When you think? When's the second chapter of this thing coming out?
Okay, so part 2 should be out. If not by the end of September, the beginning of October. But I'm shooting for a date of September. The rewrites are a killer. When you change one thing in one chapter, you have to go back to the beginning and read the whole thing to ensure that it's consistent with everything else in the book. And those rewrites will just kill you because they're painful but necessary to improve the story. So that's where I'm at right now. Is I'm in the middle of all these rewrites. But nevertheless, that's the exciting thing that's happening. Other than that, get the current book so you can get caught up. And on the website chicarionauts.com, you can get the book, you can get T-shirts, all kinds of merch, and
Yeah, let's share. Let me share the screen for the viewers to be able to check out your book and where to get. I see it right here. Actually, let's share the Amazon screen. That's where I got it. You need to come to Austin so I can get you to sign my copy of the book.
Absolutely.
And but there it is, available, folks, on Amazon. Sicarionauts Saving the World. Yes, really. This is the Kindle version by my friend Anthony Acosta. And very cool, man. I'm so jealous that now you and Sonny have books, and then my friend Heidi has written books and has had a number of books. So I think it was Sonny that said every man should plant a tree, write a book, and have kids. Have you planted the tree, Anthony? I mean,
I do. I have a grove of citrus in the backyard.
See, so I need to plant the tree and write the book still. I haven't done that other writing the book is the big thing.
Wait, is that the bar? Although just those 3 things, because I'm done. If that's the case.
Yeah, that's what
right.
Sonny used to tell me that was what an old saying, and I don't know if it was Hemingway or some American author that made that claim, but it was.
Yeah. So now I'm just gonna go fishing because it looks like I'm done. That's great.
No, you have to finish the trilogy. You need to finish the trilogy. chronology of the book.
Right.
So Anthony, what would the third book be? Could you know what that would be called?
I do, but would it be a spoiler if I?
It
No, I
would.
guess it wouldn't. Let me see. Hold on a second. Part 3. I had a great name for it, but I have it written down somewhere. But it's on Mars.
Oh wow! So we're slowly getting out of the solar system.
Yes.
With the Sicarionauts.
Once you read the book, you'll understand. Benicio wants to come home, and so everything he does is an effort for him to come home. Unfortunately, he doesn't really make the best decisions, and each decision, he makes the decisions that you would make or that I would make, given the same scenario. Right. And so you're presented with a situation and you're like, okay, what am I going to do to get out of this situation? So he makes the same decision I would make or that you would make or that anybody would make. Right. Unfortunately, that decision doesn't lead to where he wants to go. And all he wants to do is get back home. And unfortunately, it just keeps going wrong for the poor guy. So book 3 actually takes place on Mars.
And does he partake in moonshine still?
Kind of, yeah. You'll gotta get the book to find out.
I gotta finish chapter 4 and 5 and 6. I'll finish. I promise. Next time we have you on, Anthony, I'll have finished this one and get the copy of the other one. Maybe I'll see you, my friend, in September for that auto show that you're saying is coming up in here in Austin for Labor Day weekend. That would be great to see you again as well. But hey, man, thanks for doing this with me. It's been fun, and we'll do this again soon, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, take care. We'll talk soon again. Thanks, Anthony.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Weird Show as I'm re-bringing these back, but I've got to have my buddies help me do it so I get practice in before I have on some of the bigger guests that I want to have on the program. But thank you for tuning in on this one. Our friend Anthony Acosta, techie, webmaster, UFO aficionado, and all things skeptic. Anthony Acosta, a good friend of ours for 20 plus years. Good to check in with him down there in McAllen, Texas, and see how he's doing. And stay tuned. We will have Heidi Hollis on the program. I'll see if I can't even get my old partner in crime, Sonny, to come on and to give me an update on what's going on with his life. But Heidi is doing radio still, and Heidi is doing one of the 3 podcasters that does podcasts for Coast to Coast AM. So Heidi, I used to have her on as a co-host of my old Set Lab shows, and she's actually one of 3 co-hosts doing the podcasts there on Coast to Coast. So we'll have her on, but I'm going to get out of here. It's Russell and The Weird Show. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to Anthony for stopping by and saying hi.
What it seems down the haunted highway, fade the echoes of your screams, fading from a world of gothic dreams, fading from this world of gothic dreams, this bleak and twisted world of gothic dreams.